Okay, let's continue to talk about this storm system. We have a long day ahead of us, so as always, prepare, don't panic. Everybody, I'm sure, is already prepped up for this. And remember, this is not going to be a destructive type of storm. We're not talking about winds up to hurricane strength for us here on the First Coast. The big issue really is going to be that tidal flooding here this morning, as well as those local gusty conditions within the rain bands and even that threat of some tornadoes. So just hunker down, ride this one out. Don't put yourself in a dangerous situation. That's what we always say here, right? All right, let's talk about where the storm is right now. 75 miles per hour winds within it. It has just made landfall just south of Vero Beach. North Hutchinson, in fact, is the exact spot south of Melbourne, north of Jupiter. In fact, I just saw a photo on Twitter. Pretty interesting because the eye has cleared out enough where the full moon is directly overhead. So there's been some photos being shared, people out there in the eye of this storm with the full moon. Pretty incredible how it did tighten up here just prior to landfall, but it's not so much the eye, it's not the center of circulation we are terribly worried about at this point. It's north of that, these rain bands which are wrapping around, even coming onshore in the Jacksonville area. On top of that, we've been dealing with this nor'easter. Some people are saying this feels more like a nor'easter. It's been windy for the last few days. Yes, that's really it. This storm system is kind of embedded within a larger scale weather system that's been pulling those winds clear out of the North Atlantic, kicking up massive seas off of our coast. We saw a wave height over 30 feet here just a few hours ago and a buoy out there. That is, I spent 7 years in the Navy, never touched any waves that high. That is dangerous stuff. But look at this band moving through right now. And that's what we're talking about. Within these localized rain bands, that's when we do have these gusty conditions. We've just been seeing that out near the coast. But if you're not in that band, maybe down towards St. Augustine, it's not as intense. But Jax Beach is picking up. Downtown Jacksonville is picking up. This will last a few minutes and it's going to get on out of here and the winds will back off just a bit. But look at that, 51 mile per hour wind gust at the airport. Third highest on record in the month of November with that gust there. 41 at Mayport, St. Augustine, currently at 38, but it's the extent of this wind field that's the big deal. This is the difference between the latest advisory on Nicole and its wind field. Look how far it stretches back to the Carolinas compared to where Ian's wind field was prior to landfall, albeit Ian was a much more intense localized storm. Nicole, the energy is spread out all over the place. And that's why we have those winds gusting at tropical storm strength well back here towards the north. Look at these records already break. November record yesterday, in fact, here in Jacksonville, for the average wind speed, it was the windiest day on record in the month of November, just because of that nor'easter and those winds kicking in ahead of time. The wind gust also up to 51 miles per hour, as I mentioned, third highest in the month of November. So those winds are pushing that water on shore. That's why our high tides this morning, these are the times you really need to know. Jax Beach at about 8:57, the Main Street Bridge at 10:50, Bucknam about 12:50, and then St. Augustine at 9:30 this morning. But the waters are already going to creep up ahead of that. So it's not going to be right at 9:29, it's a high tide. It does gradually build in, but that's going to be right around the peak of it there in the Matanzas Inlet. For Duval County, let's break this down county by county for you. 4 to 6 inches of total rainfall, tidal flooding as well, with those winds gusting at about 40 to 50 miles per hour. Meanwhile, towards Ware, Charlton, and Pierce County, we still have about 1 to 3 in the forecast. Winds could be gusting up to 40 miles per hour there for you. And also, you even have that tornado threat further inland. Clay and Putnam near Ian water levels. Also watching the Black Creek. That's going to be more of a problem later tonight and into tomorrow. Not so much this morning there. This morning, we're concentrating on those coastal areas. So St. John's and Flagler County, those water levels up to 3 to 5 feet. Actually, I did see at Fernandina already reporting 4.5 foot water level rises. So they were already on the higher end of this threshold. And those winds continue to gust this morning with that peak as well.